same guy, Chris Kendall. There, I'm really
Hello.
excited. There are few people I truly admire and respect, and Chris is definitely one of them.
Oh,
And it's so many levels because, well, I already liked Chris. Chris is liked by many people, but this year I got to know Chris a little better, a lot better through the Raw bundle. Oh, I am the kind of person who doesn't want to annoy others. I try to manage things on my end as much as possible. But because it was the first time participating in the Raw bundle, there's so many things that I didn't understand. And Chris was there always graciously, always with great humor. And oh my God, I really, really respect you and admire you even more so because of this journey. So thank you so much, Chris, for welcoming, accepting to be on my channel. I'm so
is it all right if I
excited.
just start by crying for a while? I mean, that was so kind, just so kind. Bless you, and always an honor. And it's been amazing and awesome watching you show up more and more and more and putting yourself out there. Because I know it's been a growth, and that's amazing. And the world needs you and everyone sharing this important message. So honored by all you've shared and to be a part of this wave to expand the consciousness and compassion in people.
I thank you so much. I appreciate that, and yeah, I do. I do agree that people needs more of this information. I thought, few influencers are enough, but we actually started on raw journey in 2004. I have been on a high raw vegan diet since 2004. You have been on a fully raw vegan diet since that time. So, full respect on that, just that alone. So, but yeah, I thought that after 20 years, this raw vegan would be, it's a major thing because it's an amazing lifestyle, and I'm actually quite puzzled, like why aren't most people not doing it yet? So yeah, this is one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing, because even though I'm not really comfortable with what I'm doing, I'm pushing myself. Yeah.
Well, I'll let you know a secret, Kiko. I'm not super comfortable with it either, even after 20 years. So
No.
and this summer actually I kind of stepped back because I just needed a break because I've been doing this full time for 16 years with my website and sharing and really putting myself out there. I'm more of a natural introvert. I'm a bit of a chameleon, so I can do everything, but I am more naturally an introvert, and at times it is tough. I was never really big into social media or putting myself out there or being in front of people. It was the last thing I ever wanted. But you're right, this message is so important that I couldn't help but rise to the challenge, especially when I was invited to do things or to go places or to share my story. So that's what's led me to continue to do it. And yeah, it's such a blessing to share because it not only impacts the self and brings everything to the surface and gives you that opportunity to grow in so many ways, which isn't always easy. And I think that's a huge part of why everyone isn't doing this. It's not the easiest path in many ways, but it is in many other ways. There's so many blessings, but beyond ourselves, of course, it's like the most amazing choice for the animals, first and foremost, for the planet and as an example for others as well. So it's, yeah, I feel so blessed by it, to continue to share it and to share and help with anyone who's doing the same thing, to hopefully prevent some pitfalls and challenges that I've been through, because I've been through quite a bit.
Yeah, over 20 years, right? And you have been fully on this. So yeah, anyway, today's topic is skincare, sunburn, and conscious living. And this is a topic that I wanted to speak with you, but I wasn't sure, I mean, you have shared on your channel a few times, but I wasn't sure if you are okay with it. And of course, Chris Kendall says yes to everything.
Oh no, is that what I give? Oh no. Yeah, I try to say yes to absolutely everything, but I do have to have boundaries at times. But I'm so happy to share this information because, yeah, it is vulnerable stuff. And when I first started having some skin issues, I was kind of worried about the perception and judgment. But I felt it was way too important to not share, like to share, like it was just too important to share, not to hide, you know. And um, there are some things that I've went through this year that I haven't been super openly sharing because it's the same info that I've shared before. But we can go more into that as well because it's been a little bit of a challenging summer. And again, I think it's just important to be open, honest, and transparent about these things so that other people aren't misled. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that in many genres, it's not just raw food or vegan or health genres. It could be anything really. There
Mhm.
are people, unfortunately, that just share one side of info and share some really poor information that is misleading or inaccurate, which can lead people to be dissatisfied or disillusioned if they don't have the exact same thing, or even have shame, guilt, or think they're just doing things wrong. So
Mhm.
I think it's just so important to clear the water and be honest with your experiences.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think you were one of the first person to talk about, skin cancer or, the challenge with your health. Because nowadays I feel like we have been on this journey for a long period of time, over 20 years. And you remember in the beginning there was no space to talk about what health challenge we might have as a raw vegan, because if you have some failure, like because you're not doing it well, or so I was really pleased to see that you came out and share about your skin cancer. So would you like to share a bit about it? And I would like to share a bit about my story as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, where do you want me to start with the exposures that actually created it, or more so when I found out? Where would you like me to start?
Okay, along the line that, okay, so when we went on raw vegan diet, we feel invincible, right? Like this is
Yes.
like an amazing diet. It's like, wow, I would never get sick. I would never have to, see a doctor in my whole life. I might not die. Like
Yeah, you feel
that's
invincible. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
and some
kind of
people promote it that way, right? They promote it essentially you become superhuman, and as long as you're doing it right, and yeah, you'll never get sick. You can cure absolutely every disease, and everything is a conspiracy and hoax. The sun actually always is good for you, and there's no way it can hurt you. You don't need to brush your teeth, and you don't even
that's
need to eat
another
much
thing.
food. You don't even need too much food. You just, I've heard all of these things so many times, and usually the people who are saying them, they come and go, rather than being around for the long term. And if they are around for the long term, usually they either change or soften their message, or yeah, or they just continue. And people do find themselves attracted to extremes and attracted to really big, bold claims. And again, sadly, in the day of social media and influence, and wanting to maximize growth and earn the most money, people I think do resort to just fantastic claims and just saying things that attract people but aren't always super accurate. So
Hmm.
I definitely have been in that spot, and it's kind of funny because when I first went raw right in the beginning in 2004, I felt invincible. Like I felt like I could go nonstop forever athletically. I'd heal faster. I felt like I could sleep less. I just felt like my eyes have been opened so wide that I was essentially, moving towards like Christ consciousness, enlightenment, and I still definitely 100% believe that it is really integral to self-development and higher states of being, and even more recognition of who we are at a spirit level. But again, some claims are really grandiose, and I know that we can also fall into that thought pattern that, oh, like, wow, maybe I just don't even have to do this or don't have to do that, and I am superhuman, I am separate. um,
Hmm.
but I definitely don't really see it that way anymore. um,
Yeah,
but
I think it's a good goal to realize, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would like to know like how you discovered it and you accepted it so that you take action towards it.
Okay, well, that's a good starting point. So, um, I will say just really briefly on that past thought. Like I thought I was invincible, and I stretched myself thin and said yes to absolutely everything and put myself out there. And this is even before the raw advantage in the first 5 years of raw food. And I learned the hard way that yeah, you know what, there's limits to getting away with less sleep, and
Yeah.
just always putting yourself out there mentally, emotionally, and yeah, then all of a sudden you need to take a big break. And I mean, I guess I kind of have recently had to do that again this summer, putting myself out or stretching myself a little too thin in so many projects and stuff. But yeah, it's good to know your own boundaries and to know, and finding out my boundaries with skin was another big one.
I do want to mention something on that, Chris. When I
Yeah.
say that, of course, Chris says yes to everything. I didn't mean it that way. What I meant was that you're so gracious, even the tough topics like this, you are gracious enough to say yes, of course. That's what I meant. I do think you are strong enough to say no to, what's not what might not be, serving you, or you don't have time for that. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and I boundaries is something I've worked more on in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years since I've really needed to, especially since big things in my life came up, and had to readjust. But with skin, it is wild because like when I was a kid, I guess I'll start there. I would get sunburned really easy, and in fact, if I was out in the sun with my shirt off, I'd get big blisters, like giant blisters on my back. And I remember going to Mexico as a kid with my family almost every single winter, and I'd always burn myself. And my doctor at the time actually said I was allergic to the sun. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. They said, "You're allergic to the sun. Here's a steroidal cream that you should put on," and all this stuff. And the funny thing is, I remember getting that information, and I never really used the steroidal cream. I tried not to burn myself, but I still did burn myself. And over the years, I've burnt myself like dozens and dozens of times, like definitely dozens of times. Many of those, at least probably one or two, actually probably at least 2 dozen, where I couldn't really go outside for a few days, and I was really, really burnt and tender. And one time, really bad, where I literally couldn't leave the house for over a month. I couldn't even put on clothes for over 2 weeks. And for 3 or 4 months, I was like having water blisters under my skin when I'd sweat, because it was just like peeling off layers. Like I was peeling off chunks of skin off my legs like this, and my ankle swelled up this big. But I can say, and this will be kind of pertinent information to a lot of people, when I got into raw food, I was like, wow, this cured it. Like all of a sudden it's so much harder to burn, and like
Wow.
I definitely can now resist burning a lot easier. And I hear some people saying, well, you can't burn it. Well, I'm sorry to say, but you can still burn. And if you're light skinned like me, then it's even easier than someone who has darker skin. They have more resistance. But I have just burnt myself so many times. And it was in about 2019 time that I just started noticing, like on my face in a couple little spots where there was just like a little crusty spot, and it just felt like a teeny skin colored scab that would come up, and like I'd notice it, and sometimes I'd just leave it, but then occasionally I'd like just like do this or something, or I'd like not even thinking I'd scratch it, and that little scab would come off, and then it'd just be a little light, kind of slightly wet, but not really wet, kind of pink area, kind of shiny area. And then the scab would kind of come back, but it was always skin color, so it didn't jump out, but I could notice it because whenever I feel my face, I'd notice that kind of weird spot. And so I went to a doctor out here in Sweden, and then they referred me to a skin specialist, and they checked it out, and they confirmed that it was a basal cell carcinoma, and that was my first one over here, where you can actually see the scar.
Mm.
And that was my first video in 2021 talking about skin cancer and basal cell carcinomas and squamous cell carcinomas as well. Basal cell is the most common form that like the vast majority of people will have at some point in their life. Squamish is the second most common, and I had some of those on my hands. And it's kind of wild when I actually found out that it happened, and looking at where they were. A lot of times I've been surfing, and that's since I've been raw. And when I'm surfing, generally speaking, I'm the sun is setting on this side, because I surfed most of my time in Costa Rica, and it was just like that was the most common place that my face was getting burnt. And then also I'd wear a rash guard, but my hands would be sticking out, and I'd put some stuff on, and I'll admit I've had a poor history of using good quality sunscreen at least the first 40 years of my life. No, actually, no, probably the first 30 some years of my life. I barely used it unless I like really needed to. And my hands, though, I burnt them so bad so many times surfing that admittedly my hands, I mean, they're actually looking pretty good now. But people are like, oh, wow, your hands look a little bit wrinkled, and I've burnt them up a lot. But I had many spots there that they had to freeze off for the squamish cell, and then they had to remove the one up here. And yeah, that was in 2021. And then 2 years ago now, I started getting a few others on my face, and I noticed some others on my hand. And instead of getting surgery, because I don't really love big scars on my face, like if it happens, it's going to happen. I got a couple others from motorcycle accidents and another one from surfing accident. But
Wild, Chris.
I'm looking to minimize, if I can. But yeah, I found out that I had a couple more, and I went, and since then, I guess I can just say that I've been a little more regular going to get them checked out, and a little bit more stringent on checking my own out. I have had some more since then, which we can go into, and but again, in 2023, then, because I had multiple spots on my face, and I really was like not super excited about the possibility of doing surgery, I started looking into various different means of dealing with it. And I talked with different raw teachers too out there to see what their experience was. I mean, I talked to Dr. Graham and Dr. Rick and Karen Dina, and looked online the first time around this, but even more when I started thinking about what else to do. And at that time, I then chose to use a skin cream, which is, it was called Effudix, but it's also known by many different names. It's the key ingredient or kind of main name is Florasil or something close to that. And it is like a anti-cancer cream, a chemo cream. So it's pretty major stuff, and it's really uncomfortable. I have a full video on my channel all about that, about using Effudix. If you just put Chris Kendall or the Raw Advantage Effudix, you'll see all about that. But the long story short of that, which we can go much more into because I know I'm on a bit of a tirade here, is I put a cream on my face every single day. What it does is it creates a situation where it prevents a certain amino acid from being utilized in the skin, and that amino acid is required for the cancer cells to reproduce. And because they reproduce faster than normal skin cells, they die first. So essentially, it's like starving your skin of that amino acid, but the cancer cells, they die quicker because they need it even more than the regular skin cells, but it's still hard on the rest of the skin cells. So your entire face just gets red and itchy and sore, and the cancerous spots get really red, and they start to ooze and blister and get really painful. And, once you do it long enough, they completely die, and then new skin cells grow back, but it can take months before your skin feels normal. And in fact, I still notice some little teeny skin tone things that, for me, I'm like, looking really, really close. I'm like, yeah, my skin isn't quite as smooth in the potential cancerous areas as it was post or pre, but overall, all those little spots that are completely gone. And at the very least, that staved me off having, requiring removal or freezing for years, and until other spots maybe show up, but that was a really tough time. And I don't wish it upon anyone. And that's why I like to talk about this kind of stuff, because prevention is much, much better than needing to go the route of surgery or using these really intense creams on your face or your body. And the last thing I'm just going to say, because I know we could talk about all this stuff a lot. People say like, oh, if you're a raw foodist, you can't get it. Well, I mean, I'm one who obviously did, but beyond that, and I won't say names, I have talked to a lot of other raw foodists, and some of them notable raw foodists who've been, doing it for 30, 40 years, who have had the same kind of issues. And I mean, not everyone speaks out about it because there is a stigma out there that you got to be perfect. And if I got this, then it was because of the diet. That's what some people have told me. And it's like, no, this is just the most common thing. And, if you damage your skin enough, it can't repair in this lifetime. Now, that's one thing that Dr. Graham told me about it, is that technically we can heal from it, but it will take multiple lifetimes. So sorry, you're just not going to be able to do it. So it's like radiation damage isn't an amazing thing that you want, so yeah.
Dr. Graham, he also used cream, like sunscreen, UV block.
I don't know about his use of sunscreen so much, but I do know that he has used that Florasil or the Effudix. He was one of the main ones who recommended it for me. And I know he has damaged his skin from, being out in the sun a ton. Like a lot of raw foodists are sun worshippers, and if you're a sun worshiper and if you're not super well hydrated, or if you're not sleeping super well, you're going to be even more prone, and I know a lot of people in the raw food movement, especially, who are, really putting themselves and it out there, can fall into sometimes what I call the hygienic curse, where it's like, it's such a huge there's so much reason to want to share this that sometimes you stretch yourself thin, and yet, like, you're not sleeping enough. You're always on the computer, like answering stuff or sharing stuff. And, you know,
Yeah.
when you do that, then it only puts you even at more risk, unfortunately, and more risk of burnout or other kinds of things. Right. So unfortunately, I've
Mhm.
seen that all too often. And again, I don't want to really say too many names, but Dr. Graham has been really open and transparent and very helpful, and shared what he's seen in his consulting too, because he's been consulting for like
Yeah.
30 plus years, maybe even more. So yeah, so it's not commonly talked about, but it isn't completely uncommon, and you can't completely prevent it by being on a raw food diet, unfortunately.
It's such a, Chris, I'm so glad that, you have, even though you shared it on, YouTube before, but I'm so glad that you speak out because it's such an important thing. And, the book that you came out this year as well, debunking the raw myth, sorry, I don't remember the full,
It's all good. It's all
yeah,
good. Yeah, raw truths is called.
raw truth, right? Yeah, that's so important. And you didn't mention about skiing, but there are so many important points, like so many myths, right? That
Yeah,
teeth is also one of it that I had to go through.
yeah.
And yeah, it's so important because there are so many new people coming up to this community, and they, the first year or so, you really feel you're invincible,
Mhm.
and you say, oh, I don't have to brush my teeth, or yeah, never put the sunscreen. And I was also like, I had a my nephew. I was telling my mom and my sister in law that, no, 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 I mean, they're meant to receive sunlight. I felt so ashamed that baby got burnt, and I was like, oh
Oh,
my god.
oh no.
It wasn't too bad, but I saw that I was wrong there, and I said, yeah, yeah, we have to be mindful of that. We are definitely not invincible just because we are raw vegan. But this lifestyle is amazing. But someone like you who has been fully raw vegan, how many people, how many fully raw vegan fully raw vegan out there who are easily accessible. You are, quite often on Instagram and YouTube, and there are not too many people there. There are so many people came and just left. For me, I was just hiding all this time, and now I said, it's time to speak up. So I really appreciate, you sharing this. So, is there anything, and one more thing that I wanted to mention is that it's great that you had some people, that you respect, highly think of, that you can get advice from. It's so important. I didn't have anyone like that because I was hiding.
Yeah, yeah, no, I hear you. And that's kind of a neat point though too, because sometimes I hear people say like, oh, like there's not that many raw foodists that have been doing it for a long time, because there's not a ton that are doing it full time or long time and putting themselves out there. But just like you, there are many other people that have been doing it, and they don't really have a huge interest. And I know you do now, but there are others who don't have an interest in really putting themselves out there at all. They're
Mm,
doing it for themselves and for their family, or to heal from a disease or a degenerative situation, or they just want to feel their best, or athletics. And I mean, some people too, they actually, it's like a secret weapon that they use, whether they're an athlete or in, say, it could be even acting or modeling and stuff like that. People, they
mhm.
kind of treat it as a bit of a special weapon that helps them get that extra edge. I mean, my website, The Raw Advantage, it is just like an
Yeah,
extra advantage in so many ways. And yeah, I really do feel incredibly blessed that from really the beginning, because like I first got into raw food from reading books, but then I met Dr. Graham and went raw the next day in 2004, and I've been in touch ever since. And now we're like great friends, and we've even like co-written books and talked from the same stage and many times. And I've been to his house a lot, and um, yeah, it's such a blessing. Then I've gotten to know so many other people through going to festivals and
mm,
speaking, and even doing retreats together with a lot of raw food leaders out there. And from that, you develop those friendships and that camaraderie, and you share notes. And it's not necessarily just learning about like what each of us experienced, but what each of us and all the other people we've met and all the people that they've coached, and like been in the trenches with and seen not just the successes, but the challenges and hardships. Because again, like you said in the beginning, why isn't everyone doing this? Well, the society isn't really set up to encourage people to live their healthiest lives, in so many ways. And, individuals don't always want to see other people shine their brightest and, want to take them down to their level, or, feel good about their bad habits and encourage them with what they're doing. And so it's not always the absolute easiest thing, but having that extra kind of community and insight from so many other people, it is really invaluable. And that's a big part of the reason why I feel like I want to continue sharing and helping others and grow together, because there are things that I've been through that I wouldn't wish upon others. And I try to be open and transparent and sharing all that stuff. And you're totally right. This skin thing could have been an amazing one of the 10 chapters in my Raw Truths book, which, hey, I will share really briefly that I just got on my website yesterday. It's kind of crazy because I've been doing bundles since 2020. And every single book that I put into bundles, I haven't put on my website because I kind of kept them as special for the bundles. But yesterday I put all 7 of my newest books. So my 4 meal plans, my Raw Truths book, my stews book, as well as my Big Banana book live on my website. And everything's 45% off with my code 45 off until my birthday, August 17th, this Sunday. So I apologize for the shameless plug, but I'm really excited. This is the biggest sale I've ever had. And it's really everything, all my shirts, which must go, and all my books and everything. So
yes, thank you so much, Chris, for bringing this up, because I wanted to mention it at the end, but I'm really happy that you mentioned it. So the huge discount I saw on your Instagram. So that's a great time that people don't have to wait for another. Well, it wouldn't be in another bundle because this is Chris bundle, right?
Yeah.
With huge discount. And a happy birthday in advance. How old are you going to be this Sunday? Is it 20?
This Sunday I'll be 45. So I'm really excited. And it's kind of fun because, with 21 years Raw and being 45, I need to do the math, but I'm excited for the date. It'll be very soon. I think I'm like when I'm 48 or 49, I'll be half Raw, half, or no, I'll be longer Raw than I have been not Raw. So that's going to be really fun.
Oh, so exciting. Oh my God. That's, there's so much to celebrate. So that 45% was the Raw bundles that you put up within your website that you can, everyone wants, if anyone is interested, you can go to Chris' Instagram or website directly to purchase it. And also you're doing a huge sale on that organic cotton t-shirts, right, that you're wearing.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, indeed. And like if people have seen like the peace, love, and seasonal fruit, where is it? Yeah, that's one of my first original logos. And it's without going too heavy into it, there was just an unfortunate situation where my friend who warehouses and ships all my stuff has moved, and they have very little room in their new place. And over the years, I've created a lot of shirts. Like I think I've created 30 shirts over the years, and I've sold quite a lot actually. But I've had a lot of stock just sitting. So there's like 7 big boxes of shirts and 17 different designs, and she can't host them anymore. And I don't really have anyone else to send them to in the States, and it would make shipping and logistics really challenging. And sending them to my parents in Canada is going to cost a lot. So we just made the decision just to blow them out. So they're all 45% off, and they're at a low price. It's kind of crazy. Like, I know this could sound salesy and silly, but they're organic cotton, super high quality shirts, and regular price $25, which most kind of fashion brands would be 30 to 40, but they're 25 and then 45% off there. So I won't get too much more shameless, but I really do need to move the shirts. So if anyone's been interested in these kinds of shirts, and the Raw Vegan Power, Don't Have a Cow, Go Bananas, or Peace, Love, and Seasonal Fruit, they're available, and we're planning just to try and blow them out until my birthday, and then whatever is left, I'm going to have to figure out to take them off my shop because she can't really ship them anymore. So the best quality is now. So share it and grab a shirt if anyone wants to support this and help me out a little bit.
Yeah, whoever is listening is the lucky one to be able to purchase it in such a great discount for both your bundle and also your t-shirts. with organic cotton. So yeah, thank you. And
No.
yeah, definitely, Chris, world needs you. And you were taking a break, which necessary break in the summertime. So you had some vacation. You went to you travel a little bit as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I
And
did travel a bit, and I mean, back to actually some stuff that I haven't shared. Is this summer I've went to the dermatologist a few more times with a skin doctor, and got more areas checked. And because I did actually for about a year, I had one back here that I always felt on my back, but I just kind of avoided because it wasn't right on my face. I was like, oh, whatever, no big deal. But then I got it checked out and noticed multiple other spots on my back, and made the decision to get them removed as well, which they've already healed up. But it is kind of wild, like, when you get a piece of yourself cut out, and you need stitches, you do need to slow down. And I haven't been able to go to the gym because, all the different movements and stuff. And unfortunately, because of when they had to test some, cut some, sample some, I had to go on two separate occasions. So actually a bunch of this summer, I've just been not able to really go to the gym or skateboard or do things like that or be in the sun as much because, I'd get one checked out and then they find out, oh, you know what, we didn't actually get the outskirts. So we had to go back and do it again. And, so I've had like 3 removed from my back and about 7 spots on my hands again, frozen off. And there's different ways of doing it: freezing, burning, chemical. There's so many different ways, and each is important to research and consider the ramifications. But with the ones I had, yeah, there was removal of 3 on my back this summer that has it's been a little bit challenging this summer, not being able to be in the gym and skateboarding and stuff like that. But luckily, I've also been healing some long-term tendonitis issues in my knee that have kind of cropped up a little more from overuse and trying to get back faster than maybe my knee wanted after the motorcycle accident in 2018. And so yeah, there's a couple of things.
Surfing and motorbike and skateboarding, all the dangerous sports that you love. You need adrenaline, right, Chris?
I'm just rolling with the punches, and I tell you, like, I don't know where I'd be without this lifestyle, but I absolutely can guarantee you I wouldn't be doing as well as I am physically, mentally, or emotionally. Like, this lifestyle is a life changer, a game saver. I think I said those backwards, kind of dyslexic, but yeah, all my doctors, even the skin doctors, looking at how I'm healing from, removals and from, doing the freezing, like, you can't even really tell. I mean, you can tell my hands are, I'm not a 15-year-old boy, but you can't see the spots, and they were removed. And even my friend was showing or looking at my back where I had a removal, and the skin kind of crimped and kind of puckered a teeny bit. But now it's been 1 month since that happened, and it's completely flat. And when you look at it, you can barely even tell that it even happened. And so, like, yeah, it is amazing because it really helps with the healing. It definitely can help with prevention, being well hydrated and really well nourished and having a hugely antioxidant rich diet. But it doesn't make you invulnerable, sadly. And I've learned that the hard way because of, just not really worried about sunburnt, and sunburnt myself really badly so many times. And, now I'm just more proactive. I'm not afraid of the sun. I 100% recognize that the sun is very beneficial, and we need sun exposure for health, for vitamin D production, for hormonal health. There's so many benefits to the sun, even beyond that. But we can overdo it. Even as raw foodists, unfortunately, we're not invincible and impervious to sunburn, especially when we're lighter skinned, And so nowadays I like to cover up as much as I can instead of using cream. So if it's going to be really sunny and I'm going to be out for an extended period of time where I think I'm going to burn, I just cover up, and then I uncover for a short period of the time to get some exposure, but then not to overdo it, And if I know I'm going to be in the sun too long and I can't cover up, let's say I'm surfing or I'm skateboarding and it's so hot that I don't want to be wearing a beanie and a toque and long sleeves, well, then I will use sunscreen, And in some circumstances where I didn't prepare, I'll use any sunscreen, but I prefer to use a good quality one, and I have a good quality one. And surfing using zinc oxide or titanium oxide, better coverage and stuff. I just think it is really important because, again, like, the basal cell carcinoma, it's so common that, it's nice to prevent it if you can. It's not the funnest thing to go through.
Yeah, I was quite surprised, impressed rather, that your skin recovery after that cream applied. Like the photo I shared on as a thumbnail on YouTube, it's not the worst I found.
Yeah.
You look so painful because it basically burns right first.
It's so uncomfortable. It just, your skin feels tight and it feels like you have like rashes and scabs, which you kind of do, and it was uncomfortable for a long time, and I was self-conscious for a long time, but I definitely would rather have gone through that than had, like the removal like this, because I had like a spot here and a spot here and a spot here, and I had littler ones around here and like some up here, and like, so I mean, yeah, having multiple removals, and then I know people who have had removals and stuff like that, and you can see them, and they do kind of fade over time. And the raw food diet is amazing for skin health. Like definitely recover better than the average person. And my surgeons and PTs and skin doctors have noticed that themselves. But at the same time, it's like some things don't heal 100%, right? You still notice little things. And while I would love to say I'm not vain at all, I have some vanity. I'm a Leo, and because I put myself out there, I want to look good too. I don't want to be giving a bad name and like, oh, here I am. Like raw food doesn't have like scar face all over the place. It's not my favorite choice. So yeah, but it is a bit of a road, and there are different challenges we can come up against, and some of them we create. And it's a beautiful thing that the raw food diet helps the best ability to try and prevent those things. But if we partake in the cause of issues, well, we're going to result in them. Unfortunately, the raw food diet, again, isn't a cure-all for everything, sadly.
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that recent incident as well. And you didn't gain weight. That's another thing I was actually surprised that, because it was this year that you had to go through some procedure, right? You couldn't go to gym.
Yeah, no. In fact, more so, I've lost weight. I've lost about 10 kilos this summer.
Oh, okay.
10 pounds, not 10 kilos, 10 pounds. So about 4.5 kilos. But actually part of that was by choice. I like to go to the gym, and it feels amazing and is really good for so many reasons. And I'm going to definitely continue going to the gym. But I mean, one, not going to the gym as much, two, eating a little bit more simply, and three, I did actually do a water fast after one very briefly, just for quicker healing. So I've kind of purposely lost a little bit of weight, partially just because lightening up in the summer, but also for skateboarding, to help also with my knee and tendonitis, just to have a little bit less weight on my legs. And I mean, while I would like to, it's kind of a divide. It's funny, like my ego would like to be all puffy and big muscles, and and also for the raw food. And I mean, people do like they've said like, oh, like you actually have some muscle. Like it's a good show for the raw food scene because people feel like they can't build muscle. Yeah. So I've purposely built muscle. I'll say, like, for example, right now I'm about 170 pounds. I've been up to 200 pounds, still single digit body fat on a raw food diet, and had a lot more muscle. But it's not super great for skateboarding. When I was 200 pounds, that was in the year and a half after my motorcycle accident, where I couldn't really get into skateboarding so much because I was still like healing from my leg being clinically mutilated. Like it was completely messed up. So I was just focusing on building muscle and structural health and all that kind of stuff. And I gained a lot of weight, and I've then fluctuated usually between 175 pounds and about 185 to 190. That's kind of where I've been most of the time. But I do find for skateboarding, which is my first love and one of my other biggest passions in my life, that I feel better closer to the 170-ish kind of area. So I'm a little thinner in the face even, and all that kind of stuff. But that's what happens, I guess, when you don't go to the gym as much, eat a little less, and trim a little.
And I saw on Instagram Live, Michelle Magical commented, I make my own sunscreen by non-nano uncoated zinc oxide.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you can make your own pretty inexpensively, and you can buy zinc oxide or titanium oxide, I believe, is other. I did write down a couple things to make sure that I was correct in that. But yeah, it is pretty easy. And I mean, even it kind of surprises a lot of people, but even coconut oil is a slight SPF. It's like between a 2 to 4. So that does offer a teeny bit of protection. And again, like your skin tone does actually have a big effect. Darker people have more resilience towards sunburn and radiation damage and basal cell carcinomas and all these other kind of skin cancers. But there is still some risk, and anyone can get burnt if they take too much time, especially if they haven't been in the sun for a long time, and then they just get a whole bunch of exposure because like, yay, vacation, So those are the big times to watch out. And slow and steady exposure where you're just doing small windows for a period of time until you build that base really does help as well. So, but yeah, there are healthier sunscreens if you do some research. I'm not going to promote any brands. I'm not a sponsored sunscreen guy by any means. But otherwise, yeah, you can get that and mix it with coconut oil, or mix it with other people mix it with things like even cocoa butter or shea butter. There are other things too, like carrot seed oil or raspberry seed oil, which offer a pretty decent SPF, but they can be pretty expensive too. And I have actually more recently heard mixed reviews if it is super, what's it called, consistent with their SPF, and sometimes the claims of being 40, which I have said and repeated multiple times, that carrot and raspberry is around 40 SPF pure by itself. Some studies and things have researched question that it's not quite that high. But yeah, if you're going to be in the sun and you're going to be in there longer than your skin can handle it, covering up, physically with clothing or a hat or even an umbrella. I was out in the sun watching my friend's son bicycle race for 8 hours, in hot Denmark sun 2 weeks ago. And we used an umbrella at times because we didn't want to be just lathered up, and it was nice and easy that way, and extra cool too, because you get the shade, right? Shade's, of course, one of the easiest ways. Most animals don't sit out in the sun absolute noonday just basking. It's sometimes we can learn from them, but yeah, I mean, covering up, whether that means your own skin cream or otherwise, can be really helpful.
Yeah, I definitely prefer covering our skin than putting the sun cream. Because I live in Kyoto, Japan, and we have quite a few tourists and Asians or Asian in general, and also Japanese. We do put sunscreen, but it's rare. For face, we put sunscreen, but for skin like this, we prefer to cover.
Yeah.
And I prefer that much better. And having an umbrella is it's also a good way to you're cooler, and also you can avoid that midday UV index. That's I've been looking at that recently, making sure that if it's too high, I'll put this umbrella, or try to adjust my schedule so that I don't have to be exposed all the time. But yeah, when there's a foreigner, Westerner coming to Kyoto, they're coated with sunscreen and smell so strong. The kind of cream that the Americans, Westerner use is very different. It has a different scent, so it just kind of sounds like wow. It's
the banana boat or the coconut one. They're so they're some of the most common, very potent smelling ones. I mean, beyond the chemicals that are in a lot of sunscreens that can help penetrate the skin barrier and bring hormone mimicking kind of effects. It's there's crappy quality sunscreens that definitely have major health hazards, and I feel generally avoiding putting on things that you don't know what is in them or don't understand the chemical properties and physiological dangers that they can actually present. It's good to avoid that, and get better quality ones if you need to use them, or make your own, was recommended. But if you're going to make your own, also really research it, because there are some poor recipes out there, and using something that is known and reliable, like the zinc oxide, and finding a good way to put it into a base is important. But yeah, it's funny, when I surf now, I wear a full rash guard right up to here, and I usually actually I put a hole in my thumb so I can pull it up a little higher. So then I just need to put a little bit of zinc oxide on here. And I actually often wear full pants that are UV resistant as well, because a lot of times you're laying on your stomach paddling, and the backs of your legs get a lot of sun, and I burnt my calves a ton surfing as well. So I wear that, and then I use a zinc oxide on my face that I used to try and go for one that's skin tone, but I also have sometimes used one that's kind of like a pale kind of light green. And it's funny because when I put that on, then I slick my hair back. My rash guard is a Star Trek uniform that is actually the uniform for Data from Star Trek. If anyone knows who Data is, who's an android, and with the light green face, I actually look like Data, except the same skin color. So I surf as Data now, just to make it a little bit more comic relief.
Okay, I have the vivid image. This is so funny.
It's pretty fun. It is. I'll admit I feel a little bit like a dork, but I guess I'll own it. I love Star Trek, and Data's epic, so I'll be surfing Data.
Yeah, Chris is not only sweet, but he is hilarious at the same time. I love that. Oh my God. Yeah, I actually starting this year, I think it's quite popular in China. I saw this girl with a mask, the face mask. And this girl wearing this face mask, thicker face mask. And I was like so scared. Like, have you seen that?
No, I don't think so. No.
I'm thinking that you would see it very soon in Europe as well. That, I think Chinese girls, they're in many parts of Asia, white skin means, beauty or, rich people, because you don't have to be in the sun to do the work. And I was like seriously scared, so basically she didn't want it to get burned, so she would cover. And it's scary looking, but it's actually, I actually just prefer that than putting like a very thick layers of skin, like sunscreen.
Sunscreens.
Like if you can't avoid it with the
hat or umbrella, maybe.
Yeah, because like if you are surfing, you won't be having this umbrella. So,
but I do have a hat. That's one. It's kind of funny because I have a hat that also has an under the chin buckle. So I feel like all special with my little under the chin buckle. But it does help a little bit. But then I still put the zinc oxide, because I probably wouldn't want to put zinc oxide on every single day, but it is definitely a healthier alternative that it doesn't have any known, as far as I understand, any known negatives to using on your skin, unless again you're using it every day, all day, maybe. But
so your hat is like can you surf with the hat on? Like
yeah, but it has to have that buckle under here so that it doesn't fall off. I've tried without, just like a regular hat, and then you're always searching for your hat because it just falls off if you fall off in the water. But with the buckle, it's really nice. So I actually, blatant shameless plug, I do have a bunch of hats that are 45% off right now. But I took.
Oh wow, you sell that as well?
Yeah, but not with the buckle. But I do have flex fit hats as well as hats with the snapback. But I just took one of those because obviously, since I wear my own stuff, I took one of those hats, and then I cut a buckle off of an old helmet, and then I just sewed it in really, really well, and so I have the helmet buckle on one of my hats, and that's what I use in the sun.
Oh, that's great. I bike everywhere here in Kyoto, so that part, not the buckle, but I do have something so that it doesn't fly off.
Yeah,
it's quite dangerous.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, that's a great idea.
It helps a lot, and then at least it's kind of double effect, because I still use the zinc on my face, unless it's just early morning, and I'm only going to be out there for like an hour or something. Then when the sun's the strongest, that's when I'm definitely like covering up in every way I can, especially if I'm going to be out in the sun for like a couple hours. I've learned the hard way so many times. Burning just is so not fun, and hiding from the sun, and just being so tender and itchy, and oh gosh, yeah. So I am excited to say in the last few years, the last few years have been the first times that I've like traveled to the tropics and not got burnt at all. Because I
Yeah.
like used all these prevention techniques. I just layered before, like slowly got sun before I went, and then just was mindful and covered up more and used sunscreen more liberally when I knew I was going to be in the sun and couldn't avoid it. And yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I'll pat
Yeah,
myself.
congrats.
I'm 45. I'm finally starting to learn.
It's been only recent for me as well. I didn't put any sunscreen. And I was just always, I was the only one who would just go. I didn't even have a umbrella or and I no protection. I always expose my skin, and it's just, even if you don't get the cancer, it's just your skin doesn't appreciate you. I mean, it's just there's a limit for our skin as well. And because raw vegan diet is amazing, my
Mhm.
skin does heal so quickly. And
Yeah.
like I remember my mom, she used to complain like, oh, you get so much sunburn, and it's not white enough. You getting spots. And but when I do like intense cleanse, or can be just on raw food, then it just your skin heals so fast. And I used to tell my moms like, oh, don't worry, I'll just recover with raw vegan food. And but there's a limit,
There is a limit. Yeah.
with time, aging. And also, there's a thing called aging for raw vegans as well. You're definitely not invincible. So
For
I,
sure. And it's kind of sad to say, but we have more things kind of working against us in these days and times than people did 20, 30, 50, 100 years ago, with more chemical exposure and microplastics. And maybe it's controversial to some, but thinning ozone and higher UV levels in certain areas. And you know, um, all the processed junky foods. I mean, most people haven't been eating solely raw food, and we are going to be affected by our past. And we can't heal to the absolute greatest extent with a healthy raw food diet and healthful living practices, holistic living practices. But again, yeah, it doesn't make you invulnerable, and your body. Some things your body can't 100% heal from. And that's the tough thing with mutations and DNA damage and radiation. It's just like
Mhm.
the copy becomes less, and it
Mhm.
becomes more and more damaged. And in some circumstances, that can't be reversed or fully replaced. So it is amazing to have options like that skin cream, because again, that actually kills the cancer cells, and then new skin grows back. But it's not the funnest option, And I think something also is just important is like a lot of times people get into the raw food lifestyle and they see the hypocrisy in the medical, pharmaceutical kind of realm, and over promotion of surgeries and some
Mhm.
misinformation, at least what is seen as a misinformation from a health perspective and not from a medical perspective. It can be a little bit of a mixed bag, but that can influence a lot of people to just outright think in a black and white term and be like, throw it all out. It's all conspiracy. It's all lies. Like it's
Mhm.
all inaccurate, and they're only in it for the money, and doctors are evil, and things just aren't that black and white, and it
Yeah.
requires more research. And again, that's why I feel so blessed to be, not only experiencing things myself, but learning from others' experience who've been walking this longer than me in a really healthy, hygienic lifestyle as well. So it's not just like I'm going to standard American doctors and talking to them what they're thinking. I'm
Mhm.
talking to them. I'm talking to, raw food doctors, and then using other tools and researching. And um, yeah, we are humans. We're put into more challenges today than ever, and because of that, the lifestyle I think is even more important than it ever has been, so that we can be resistant and resilient in these times to come, to be as healthy as we possibly can, as our genetics will allow, and as the circumstances we put ourselves under will allow. So it's
Mhm.
to me more of just a realism stance rather than a philosophical stance. And again, sadly, a lot of raw foodists just they hook, line, and sinker philosophy and think it trumps all of reality, and it's just sadly not the case.
Mhm. Yeah. So I also wanted you to share about like your skincare routine.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, one kind of fun thing that I don't do too often, but I have a friend who's a redhead and burns even easier than I. Usually it's like, I mean, it's albinos and redheads get burnt the easiest usually, and then like really light skinned folk. But he says that actually he doesn't say, he swears because he said he's tested this so many times, and I've researched it, and there's good evidence for it, that if he drinks like a liter of carrot juice before going out into the sun, like let's say for breakfast, he drinks a liter of carrot juice before being in the sun, it helps him more than anything. It's almost like an internal sunscreen. And I wouldn't say that, rely upon it as an internal sunscreen, but the high vitamin A and all the antioxidants and the high level of hydration is really, really helpful as a bit of a preventative. And just in general too, like being really well hydrated and drinking water. That's another myth that people talk about, like avoid water, you shouldn't even drink water, like just eat fruit. And yes, fruits and vegetables can be hydrating, especially if they're a little less sweet or they're really high water rich. And vegetables and tomatoes and cucumbers are incredibly hydrating, and most people are eating dehydrating foods, so you're way more well hydrated eating a raw food diet. But the addition of water can help you also be fully hydrated to optimal levels, which is really important for all of our bodily functions, for detoxification, as well as for skin health, and for sunburn prevention. So being really well hydrated before going in the sun is very important, and being well slept. And then to my skincare, I mean, it's funny because, I have been a bit of a minimalist hippie for a long time, even well before I got into raw food. Part of it being laziness, part of it being like just, I guess I don't care. There's been a lot of times where I didn't use, soap or toothpastes or any creams or sunscreens. Over the years, I've gotten a little less, and I've found some soap products and even hair care products that I absolutely love. So what I usually use myself is a product called Morocco Method. There are other products out there that are amazing, but I love Morocco Method because it's certified raw and vegan, wild crafted, small batch, like, small company made. And I mean, they've grown over the years, but, it started by individual, not a huge corporation. And yeah, they have all natural ingredients and stuff like that. So I use that for like, my personal favorite is the shampoo and conditioner bar, because I don't like pumps. I use the bar, and I use that for my skin. I don't use it on my face, to be honest. I don't really put soap on my face almost ever, and I never really have. Maybe unless an odd occasion where something weird, like I get something stuck on it, or just an odd occasion. But the vast majority of the time, I don't put anything on my face. I just use the shampoo body bar, and I don't shampoo my hair too often. Once in a blue moon, but maybe once every month, and condition. But on the face myself, the only things that I've really used is I have used coconut oil after burning for like aftercare, or aloe vera. Like that's some of the most natural stuff, like after burning, but not really too often before, because it kind of clogs the face pores a little bit and isn't the best, makes it kind of look shiny. So I don't usually use it on my face. I use it on my arms and stuff like that if it's really dry, which usually doesn't happen unless I'm like in Canada in the winter where it's just super, super dry. But out here and in the tropics, it's normal and natural. I don't really feel any need to put that on there.
Where are you?
I'm in Sweden.
Tropics?
Oh no, I'm in Sweden right now. But
Yeah,
but I mean, but this, because it's right near the ocean, it's a higher level of humidity. So my skin just does much better with a little bit of humidity. It's the dry climates that are really harsh on the skin, and people find they need to put more lotions and creams to prevent from drying out, But I do use Morocco Method has two kind of neat products. They have a Zen facial cream, which is more like a traditional kind of moisturizer, but it's all raw vegan ingredients and nothing you don't know what is. And it's very nourishing. I've used it on my skin a lot. And then also they have a pump spray, which is just like a mist that has like some kind of fun things, like quartz and other stuff like that. But it also has other nutrients and essential oils in small amounts that is hydrating and nice to put on the skin sometimes, which I do on occasion. But I am a bit of a minimalist in all of those things. I don't overuse things, and I'm not trying to say everyone needs these things by any means, but I really enjoy them and have used them and have seen some benefit from using them on occasion.
The soap bar that you use, it doesn't foam, right?
No, yeah, it's non-foaming. So You know, I mean, some people like that, some people don't like that.
Yeah, I
I like
remember.
it.
Yeah, it was big when I was living in New York in 2004. I bought like series of Morocco method and shampoo. I do remember, and hair oil. And yeah, I just didn't couldn't get used to with like like no
Not
bubble.
foaming.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
forming. And yeah, but yeah, it seems like everyone swear by it. It's a great. I mean, their quality is amazing, right?
Yeah, they're quality and they're really well priced. Like, you know, I mean, like I said, I don't shampoo all the time. Like, uh, being fully honest, it's probably about once a month that I shampoo and condition. Before that, I went years without ever doing anything, just hot water in my hair, and that was always all right. And for a long period of time, I actually preferred the way my hair felt and looked when I didn't do anything. But then a lot of people are like, you know, it is a little greasy, you know, it is a bit greasy, and it smells, you know, you smell a little bit hippie. Like, it's not bad, but you're just a little, you know, like maybe try this, you know, and like so over the years, occasionally a girlfriend will be like, "Hey, try this," and but then I was like, if I'm gonna have my own, and I will give a big shout out too to my friend Uncle Mike in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. He has a company that makes natural and vegan shampoo bars, and that was the first shampoo bar I ever tried. He's amazing, UncleMike.com, and he has a whole bunch of cool natural products as well. But then later, I did, you know, get approached by Morocco Method and research them more, and you know, like again, certified raw and vegan and wildcraft and all that stuff. And I started using theirs, and I really love it as well. And I can share that I do have a shameless 25% off coupon using the code banana. So if anyone is interested in checking out Morocco Method, whether it's for skincare or hair care or anything like that, they do have liquid shampoos and conditioners and stuff. And I believe they have some that do foam, but maybe I'm mistaken in that. But I know they have various different types for different hair and skin types and different purposes. And again, you know, like raw, vegan, natural, kosher, all that good stuff, right? So it's fun
Yeah,
and nice to have those options, you know.
yeah, definitely. I always searching for products because there's zillions of products out there in the market. So I'm sure someone out there, including me, appreciating recommendation by you. You know, someone who's minimalist and trying making sure that you're using the best quality. So I definitely appreciate that. And it's been over 1 hour, but
Oh
Chris,
my,
yeah, I
it flies so fast.
yeah, I know, and I was wondering if you still have time, but I
Yeah,
actually so amplifier and Adam said hello. It's been a long time. They said hello and thanks for joining us.
hello,
Um,
hello.
yeah, the importance of community, if you don't mind
Yeah, of
sharing.
course. Yeah, you know, I think community is just integral to overall health. You know, it's just the same as getting enough sleep or you know getting enough sunshine or enough healthy foods. You know, without community, we feel isolated, and you know, studies have shown you know we're communal beings. You know, like while there is you know the odd person who does even better, you know, in isolation and is more of a hermit. You know, it's not super common, and more often than not, people do need like-minded community to feel that they're a part of something and to feel understood and to feel connected. And you know what I've found with raw food is, especially in the beginning of a raw food journey, you know, when we're all of a sudden seeing a sharp contrast between what we thought was normal and what we now feel is a new normal, and we're going through challenges in making changes and you know coming up against societal pressure or family pressure or sadly in some cases losing friends or family or at the very least having clashes because there's a lack of understanding.
Mm,
That can put a lot of strain on people and it can create a lot of sadness and loneliness and anxiety and feeling separated. I was just hanging out with a friend out here in Sweden that like you know she lives a little further away from where I am, and she's like, I don't know anyone who's a raw foodist. So like you know when I meet up with you, it's like it's family, right? It's awesome because no one else really understands, and you know so it's so important again, especially I think in those first years where we're feeling so different because it's like you know all of a sudden we change where we want to go and sometimes the places we want to be around or people we want to be around at certain times and again this lifestyle is amazing but it is challenging to unwind and to be looking at our darker parts and our habits and the things that don't really serve us, because they're going to come up when you shine this bright, bright light within ourselves, So um, in those challenging times, having that strength of community to know that what you're going through is normal, and to question things, and to not have to question things, about what you're eating, or feel like you have to defend yourself. All of those things are just so dang important. And what I have found though too over time, as we become really comfortable with the lifestyle, and we're not second guessing it, and we're not put off by people questioning us or making fun of us, that it becomes not that it becomes less important to have community, but that it becomes easier to see community all over the place and see less division between each other. Because most people, I think, when they're being hard on us as raw foodists, or when we're feeling isolated, is more about our perspective than about the reality outside of ourselves. And it takes time to grow with that, and to grow sometimes a thicker skin, and to just recognize that everyone's doing their best, but some people feel threatened by this lifestyle, and they don't want that mirror in their face. And depending upon our perspective, and also how we present ourselves, because if we come out being like, this is the way, and like we're evangelical raw foodists, which there's a time and a place for everything. I've been an evangelical raw foodist, and sometimes I am still, but sometimes that can put people off and create barriers and boundaries and uncomfortable situations between people. So, this lifestyle, it's a bit of a navigation, right? It's like, it takes time, and it takes going through everything multiple times to find where our balance is, and having community, whether that's raw food community, which I think is vastly important, especially again in the first years, and continuing, and otherwise just making sure that we have some community when we're going through all of this is so important. And that's why often what I like to do though too is like, when I first got into raw food, like I didn't want to be around certain people. It's not that I wrote them off as friends. I was just like, what, this influence isn't super good. And I especially just didn't want to be around during certain times that I knew weren't really conducive to what I was doing. Like, so I avoided bars, for example, and I didn't go to certain parties and stuff like that. Over time, I felt comfortable to go back to those, but I kind of avoided them. But at the same time, what I tried to do was invite my friends that, weren't raw foodists out to do other things. So meet out for skateboarding, and, meet out for a jog, or meet out to go do something fun that doesn't necessarily revolve around food, because then you're also planting seeds, because if we only stay within raw food community, we're preaching to the choir, we're talking to the choir, we're not spreading the message, and so I really like to promote, and I know that could sound kind of funny, but I really like to promote to find community within raw food, but also find community in your other hobbies and your other interests, and be proud, without being prideful of what you're doing and the life you're living, because it is so freaking powerful. And unless you're out there doing it and mingling and, being non-judgmental and, just being open and honest and transparent when people are interested, then, we're not going to be spreading the message as effectively as we can. But again, and especially in the beginning, we need our boundaries, and being self-aware and knowing our limits, and knowing when to push ourselves and when to step back, and when to nourish ourselves and shelter our little flame when we're new to this, so that it can become a raging bonfire to be a light for everyone else out there.
So true. I swear, when I became raw vegan in 2004, there's so many weirdo raw vegans, and I could have sworn that they have gone a bit cuckoo, because
some do. Sadly, I shouldn't laugh. People go cuckoo on any kind of approach and diet, but
but because we are such a minority, and I saw so many in New York, that it must have been because they're doing something so different. They might be doing something correct or right thing, but if they are not part of the community, any community, like if they secluded, and they've been called like this is over 20 years ago, like they're called crazy, like cuckoo. Like, why are you not, first of all, like why are you not eating animal to begin with, and why are you not cooking? Like, what age are you living? So I could so see people going crazy, because they just couldn't deal with their family or friends. But you do have your community, right? Okay, so that's what I wanted you to speak.
I do. I mean, I have like an online course with a community board in there and stuff like that. And I mean, and then of course, I mean, traveling and moving and meeting so many people. I'm really good friends with so many raw foodists around the world, and and then also I have my skateboarding community and
Oh
some
no,
people in
no.
skateboard.
Right. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I don't mean to cut off, but
yeah.
didn't you start your like paid community?
No, no, actually, I don't have a paid community. I mean, I do have an online course that, when people have gone through it, they're in the alumni group, and there is now a community board in my group, but it isn't really used too often. I usually use Facebook and Instagram and email, but I don't have like a. I know some people have like a school community that they're active in all the time, and like I, I more so just see like everything as my community. Like I don't see any separation so much anymore, and I try to make a community every single where I go, and I try and focus on similarities rather than differences, and lead with compassion. To me, veganism at its heart is about compassion. And it's compassion for the animal, but also compassion for people that don't quite get it yet and may never get it. But still being open and honest and transparent and ready to answer tough questions and have difficult conversations, but coming from a place of love rather than a place of anger or judgment, and that's what I strive to do. And that's why I share so, across all my social media and see that as the community. Anyone who I'm connected with, that's ultimately everyone is community,
Yeah, the online course is also great. I mean, if anyone is interested, I think Sachi has taken. By the way,
Yeah.
she said, "Love you, Kiko and Chris. Thank you so much."
Oh, love you too, Sachi.
Bye.
Yeah, Sachi is awesome.
Yeah, she's so sweet. I'm having a podcast with her just after this. But yeah, so definitely Chris online course is amazing that anyone is interested, they can go to your website to follow. And that's also another community, whoever took that online course, you can connect and share. And I love that. More so of knowledge, I like connecting with people who are interested in that course and continue sharing, continue motivating each other.
Absolutely, because that's one thing that is just so nice too, having community with people that you trust and have gone through similar things, or so you can bounce experiences and thoughts and fears and hopes and aspirations between each other and lift each other up. And to me, that's a big part of what just this world is each of us is forgetting and remembering certain things, and when we come together, we can remind each other and see some things that maybe we're missing out. We don't really see, but other people, they might see, and so we grow together. And that's, I think, the benefit of community is coming together to grow together in happiness and health and abundance.
Yeah, beautifully said. Oh, time has run out so fast, and thank you so much, Chris, for sharing this sensitive topic, but yet such an important topic. And I'm sure there are so many people who benefit from it. You have shared quite a few information, benefits of information, and also huge sale. Definitely take advantage. It's available for the t-shirts, right? It's available until your birthday, 17th Sunday.
Yeah. T-shirts, paper books, ebooks, hats, I got panties. I got crazy. I got patches, stickers. Yeah.
Amazing.
They say, "Ooh, baby, I like it raw on the back." Yeah.
Love it. I remember that music.
Yeah. Yeah. Wu-Tang, represent.
Great humor. I just love it. And is there anything I could go on forever, but is there anything else that you want to share before we close this?
Just thank you, Kiko. Honestly, one for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to push through some vulnerability and share some of this stuff and get this message out there, and then even more for you doing what you're doing and putting yourself out there and sharing the wealth of information and experience and love you have. So just really blessed by you and to be a part of this big movement and community, and and may that community only grow, just grabbing everyone with a big hug and spreading this juicy sweetness,
Yay! So such a beautiful closing. Thank you so much. And this is your birthday week, right?
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah,
Party
I'm so
time.
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, I cannot thank you enough for you being there always, consistently. But yeah, peace.
Honor and pleasure. Honor and pleasure. And I hope that you and Sachi have an amazing chat, and that everyone enjoys that, and lots of gems are dropped as well.
Yeah, it's in Japanese. That's why I'm so excited. Japanese people need to hear this because there are much raw vegan information out there here. So
I'm so happy to see both you and Sachi rising up with that in Japan, because I know I've talked to Sachi a bunch about that as well. So it's so important and awesome to have that information spreading out to people so that they can hear it and understand it even more effectively. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I did put the link in the YouTube description and also Facebook. So whoever wants to buy Chris sale and also Morocco method, he's got discount code, so please go ahead and click that link if you're interested. And Chris, I hope to see you soon. And
yes, absolutely. Let's do this again.
Yay. All right, well, I'll see you soon.
Sounds awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, have a great birthday week. Bye.
I will.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.